Right, welcome to another episode from the Chart Reader. So I'm gonna take a look at three on this one. I'm gonna cover Palantir for the first time, and I don't even remember how long. I'll cover SoundHound and BBAI after. And I haven't covered Palantir for the simple reason that how many educated things can I say about such a beautiful chart, right? We're looking at nothing more than going to resistance, breaking resistance, riding the 8, riding the 20, riding the 8, riding the 20, breaking resistance, going, right? I mean, this is as beautiful as it can get. And really, you can even zoom out to the 2023s and see that exact same thing. It breaks all and flies from that point. And then, I mean, just beautiful uses of the MAs, right? So, not too many things I really could have said since June, but again, doing beautiful, beautiful things to say the least, all right? I think now is probably one of the more interesting moments on the Palantir chart. And look, obviously Nvidia is the AI sector leader, but in so many ways, Palantir is the leader, in my opinion, for the smaller AI stocks behind it. Because, hey, again, you just saw it actually wasn't that long ago. Palantir was a sub $10 stock. This thing you can buy for basically five something not that long ago, right? So this was at the bottom of the AI sector in terms of dollar value. And I think to watch this one run, really, I think owns a little bit more strength and connections to the SoundHound, Big Bear, Guard Force, and the belows, right? So I think Palantir is an important one to look at. Obviously, I think SoundHound is going to be the next one as you start going lower, right? And this is again kind of the same thing I just said on Palantir, right? This is actually arguably the first most interesting moment, right? This is probably the moment right here where we take off and fly. We break it all in early November. There was a single bounce of the 20 right there, pretty much only on the 8 from there. And all of a sudden, we're actually looking at the first relatively scary candle under that line, right? So we're never here to overreact on a single candle, right? We want confirmation up, we want confirmation down, right? What's worrying me, hold on, let me talk about BBAI and then I'll close it off. This is the third one we're going to look at, right? So as I'm seeing the first big one pull back, right, Palantir, and then I'm seeing that worry on SoundHound, and look, I didn't say it, but I mean, I hope you saw it, right? If we actually lose the 8 and the 20, the 50 is really low down there, and it's again green, 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 red, 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 green, green, green. That could be a bad red, 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 right? So SoundHound's looking a little scary, and with that, I gotta give a little bit more concern with BBAI, right? I think the positive thing is we at least have the line right here, so it's not like it's a crazy, crazy fall like SoundHound will be facing. But again, when I'm seeing the bigger ones start to concern me, I would say at the minimum, you have to expect the smaller ones to do that much and then some, right? I think overall the big story today was NASDAQ, okay? I like yesterday's doji. Oh, what are you doing? Oh, my kitty wants to go out. Come on now. You could have done that a little classier. Right. Sorry about that. Yesterday's doji, look, I liked it if you watched yesterday's video, but I know I ended it with by still saying, hey, you gotta respect the doji, right? Really, really messed up that we gapped up right here, right? If you look at the candle, we open all the way up here at that 19.9 number. I think I roughly talked about actually. So really hard fake out with that gap up open. But again, there's a reason why I wait till the end of the regular hours to make my videos, right? We care about the close here on at least my videos, right? So tough day. We're now back below the lines. Clearly that doji was not happy, and you've heard me say it. The big candle after the doji tends to tell the truth. And I think as I saw today, I had to at least go back and start to realize, look, there's some scary death crosses happening on the Dow Jones on the daily, right? The 8 has already death crossed the 20, the 50, and arguably about to do the death cross on the 100. The 20's already death crossed the 50 and probably the 100 not that far behind it, right? You're looking at the S&P 500 now. We today actually pretty hard do a death cross of the 8 on the 50, right? So NASDAQ's still looking better, right? That's an easy thing to say, okay? But it's starting to get a little more looming that hey, maybe we got to be careful, right? So last thing to for sure say, that's a fresh 50 right there, we haven't really used it as we've made this, like, what we'll call it, the second climb. That was the first climb, whatever, third, whatever, who cares, right? You get what I'm saying. Um, Actually, as I say those, let me back up and look at this thing. So I don't like, actually, now. Well, okay, let me just talk this out loud. We lose the 50 like a hot knife through butter right there. We hold it a little better, but then for sure not pretty. That's a pretty rough fall. We're at least bouncing a bit, but I think I'm a little more worried about that 50 moving average line than I think I would have been otherwise if I didn't make that zoom out. So still a fresh line. I'm not taking those words back. Obviously, it hasn't really been used much since, what, September. That said, I don't know. We've seen it get we've seen that line not do as well as it should otherwise, right? And again, we talked about the looming other indices. So I think that's some good opening thoughts right there. Cool. So before we do go any further and I give you more of my thoughts and opinions, what are we going to do? Same thing we always do, right? We'll take a look at the daily and the weekly to see how these things are setting up short term. We have our 5 moving averages. There are horizontal support and resistance lines that I do draw manually myself. And then when we are done up here, we'll use the MACD, RSI, and volume as our lower indicators. Hey, really quickly, if you can, please subscribe to this channel. Share this video online with your friends. Comment good or bad if you disagree. Look, anything you can do helps so much with these YouTube algorithms. But for real, just being here, giving me your time, oh, I'm so grateful for it, all right? So, look, Palantir has been a beast. Okay, I think arguably one of the hottest stocks over the last 2 years. The CEO was just named CEO of the year, if I'm not mistaken. I mean, Palantir went from, like I said in the opening thoughts, a $5 and something cent share to up in the 80s in a matter of 2 years, right? That's a beautiful move right there, and I think the strength of it. Also, I've mentioned it, this is part of the PayPal army. So if you Google that phrase, the PayPal army is like 4 or 5 guys that started the company PayPal. Elon Musk was one of them. I always mess up the dude's name. It's Peter something. Thessel, I don't know. I'm butchering it, I'm sure. He is in the PayPal army, and I'm telling you, you don't bet against the PayPal army. All right, simple. It's obviously an opinion, but hey, it's a pretty good one, I think, in my eyes. All right, so this is a company that has a lot of government contracts, not even just the US government, right? There are several, and I do say several. I obviously don't know the numbers because I'm not a fundamental guy, but there are several European nations that are also a part of the Palantir, accounting of the revenue coming in, right? So it's not just US government, military, et cetera, et cetera. It is nations around the world, government, military, et cetera, et cetera. And all of those have the deepest of the deepest of pockets, right? So look, bare bone, I'm here to talk about daily and weekly charts, right? Palantir is definitely on a different level, and like I at least want to give it that kind of quick level of respect because number one, I don't talk about it enough. Number two, yeah, again, I'm about to give you some daily, weekly thoughts, and I'll tell you, things aren't looking pretty here, right? There are basically 4 things we look at, right? Moving averages, MACD, RSI, volume. This don't look good, this don't look good, this don't look good, this don't look good, right? And I'm not here pretending, oh that's okay. No. This does not look good right now, right? I think when I look in the weekly as well, I'm starting to see that same little worry, right? Look, we've seen a bad red candle. Okay, the problem was the 20 was right here. That's a bad red candle, and the 20's down here. Hey, that's a not good one, but we're over the 8. I'm not worried, right? Like that one was a scary one under the 8. That one was obviously a scary one. That one was a scary one, but again, that's right on the 20 as well as some line that I'm not even gonna go back and talk about, right? So the issue is that's a scary moving average drop on the weekly. I'm seeing a really high RSI, right? We were at 88, 87, 90 as I'm going through the last few weeks. Like things need to cool down, right? And yeah, it makes sense, and that's what we're seeing. I think the MACD starting to follow, right? I mean, right now this is not the prettiest, and again, I started the video with it. NASDAQ is definitely over the golden line. I'm not here saying like crash, fear, this, that. I think the respect of the struggling Dow Jones needs to be acknowledged a little bit more, right? I have not been doing that. Over the golden line, so I'm happy with it, right? Over the 200 moving average, so again, I'm happy with it. But yeah, that's a lot of red. We're now looking at losing the 100 and probably heading down to the 200, probably heading to the golden line, right? As we look at the S&P 500, same doji as we saw in NASDAQ. Now it's kind of looking like we're losing the 50 and coming to the 100. I talked about the death crosses in the open, right? So my NASDAQ confidence, at least in the short term, is definitely getting a little worrisome. I think it's going to come down maybe to this 18.6. I said 1900 not that long ago. It was probably in the early midst of this right here, right? So I think it's now at least just worth watching the NASDAQ, seeing what happens with the 50, watching the others. But yeah, it kind of seems like we might lose the 50 and head to the 100 right now, right? So with that in mind, you have to remember PLTR, Palantir. You have to remember that what the indices do, so will the tickers. And if NASDAQ starts to struggle, and like I said, in my eyes, it looks like it's on the brim of doing that, and you're looking at a stock with the red over green on both the MACD and the RSI, MACD is actually not that far from the zero line, right? So those are pretty steep slopes on the way down as well. Normally, I'm excited when the divergence is the other way around, right? When the green looks like it's that steep going up, like that's obviously as concerning as it is exciting, right? There's two sides to every coin, right? RSI is not super horrible. I'll at least say that, but you know, it's getting on the concerning side. I think that's the easy thing. And then again, obviously I talked about the volume. We're not even near the 50-day. This thing's been pretty okay. And if you zoom out, you can see it actually knows how to live when it's under. I think the glaring thing is obviously all the reds as opposed to what's been generally either 50-50 or at least 60-40, 70-30 green vert red, right? So it's just things are getting a little daunting now, right? So I think the important thing is to watch where the Nasdaq goes. Watch, in my opinion, and it's a loose opinion because honestly, I really haven't done the like long term. But in my head, if Nasdaq drops to that golden line, which is basically lose the 50 and drop to the 100, I think there's a decent chance that Palantir will lose the 50, drop to the 100, right? And again, what am I talking about? It's the thing I just showed, right? If NASDAQ loses the 50 and comes to the 100, it's hard to believe Palantir won't do the same thing. All right. So we're very, very much watching that right now, right? I would more than love Palantir at 79.20, let's call it, right? That'll actually get you $80 is lovely. I can easily say that. But yeah, I think maybe even around 78 flat, I think could be an interesting number. Maybe if the shakeout goes a little bit lower, it'll end up being 77. But yeah, I think I'll obviously I'm gonna see what the views look like. I'm here talking for views, you know that, right? But I do want to watch Palantir because yeah, I would look. I say this with respect, right? This is one that I would love to watch fall just so that I could ride the back up, and it's gonna be a good, slow, steady ride, just like Palantir has proven itself to be, right? Very last thing is this has been a very dominant earnings ticker. Okay, I'm still always generally very 50-50 and respectful of the uncertainty that comes with earnings, but I think it's easy to say at least the last three, kind of looking at this chart, arguably all of them over the last 2 years, maybe for all I know, right? But I think the last three, like that was an earnings gap up. I know that was an earnings gap up, and I think that was an earnings gap up, if I'm not mistaken. But nonetheless, I think the last few have been good. I generally do add a little respect to that fact because now I'm starting to see the executive team knows what they're doing. They know what they're calling. They know what they're forecasting. They're not getting too greedy and this and this and this, right? So earnings can save this even if NASDAQ goes down. But hey, even good earnings in a bad NASDAQ movement can really actually hurt and almost be wasteful in some ways. Okay, so let me know your thoughts. Let me know your opinions, even if you disagree. So I'm going to come into SoundHound, and truth be told, I think a lot of the same thoughts are in the Palantir section. So if you watch that, cool. If you didn't, I'm at least going to give you a little condensed version here, right? But hey, SoundHound has been beautiful, and I said it in the opening thoughts. It's actually all about this orange line right now, okay? The 20 moving average. We've truly only touched it once since the November takeoff. All right. There used to be a line, if you remember, I think it was 520. I don't really remember exactly what the line was, but there was a really tough line we were watching, and it was for a lot of the year. It was somewhere around. I really don't remember. Whatever. Okay. Once we took off, that was basically the November point, and since then, right? That's kind of why I'm ignoring these ones right here. We've only used the 20 ones, and we've beautifully use the 8 moving average to ride on up, and again, it's a beautiful thing when things are good. We're now starting to see a truly first moment of, are we going to actually lose the 20 moving average? And again, as much as I need the confirmations up when I'm wondering if we're about to break them all and fly, I need that same confirmation, but I am looking at the question, are we about to lose the 20 and drop to the 50? Right? Literally, if we lose this orange line, all I see is green, 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 red, red, red. That's the next place down, right? And falling from 18 to 12, that's rough, right? You're basically losing $6. 6, 12, 18. That's a 33% drop right there if it hits, right? So there's reasons to be concerned. Maybe $15 can be a decent. I'm clicking at 15.40 right now, but maybe half of this little candle right now. I don't want to say little. That's a good candle, but like yeah, maybe that's something. But yeah, you know me. I'm here respecting the MAs a lot, right? So what we really want is right here. We need $22. Once SoundHound gets back over $22, beautiful things are going to happen. Blue skies and loveliness. You know what I mean? But again, right now, what we're looking at very much is the NASDAQ. NASDAQ is easily the best of the three big indices. The issue is S&P 500 starting to look a lot scarier than it was, and Dow Jones is actually looking a lot more horrible than it was. You know what I mean? So I think the severity of one, the concern of two, makes it a lot harder for me to keep saying that number three is the best one and kind of okay, right? Like I think we're here to respect the moment, and hey, this is still just a single candle. I'm a little bit maybe overreacting because the doji before it, but yeah, let's see what it can we get back to 19.7 tomorrow. That's the goal on NASDAQ, and hey, that'll kind of dictate what SoundHound does, right? If we lose, oh man, we're there. That's the line. No, I'm 1813. If you actually look in the box over there, it's 1819, okay? We cannot lose 1819. Clearly we're under it, but just because we're under it doesn't mean we lost it, right? We have to, at the minimum, get back into that like $19 range. 19's the minimum actually, and 19 would still put us under the 20 MA, but yeah, 19's the minimum for tomorrow. Otherwise, I would expect us to come to 17, if not 17, maybe even that 1530 number that I clicked on. All right. So, scary MACD, first time in a while. Uncomfortable RSI for now, a good bit now. It's actually been an almost month downtrend on that RSI. And again, an RSI can still go all the way to 30 before it actually should like textbook reset, right? So, and then that same volume sentence, right? That I said with Palantir. So look, let's look at the weekly real quick. I haven't looked at the weekly here, but okay, again, I think it's basically the same. I actually think it's literally the same thought. We've used the 8 perfectly. We're definitely not under the 8, right? But all of a sudden, I think it's kind of realistic to think, are we going to come to 1672 by Friday? Hey, Thursday, the market's closed. So all of a sudden, we have a midweek close to what usually was a red Friday. It's been a little greener than normal, right? But this is now a weird week. I actually started it saying this is the first full week. It's no longer anymore, right? So I think it's kind of realistic to think by Friday we're going to come down to this 1670. I think that's somewhat realistic at this point. Yeah. Yeah, I think that's it on SoundHound. Look, let me know your thoughts. Let me know if you disagree. Obviously, I know a lot of people have longer term thoughts and this and that. I'll try to maybe sneak in a longer term thought video. You know, I'm not the best at that. You're here for the short terms, right? But again, this is a $20 stock, right? So it was a beautiful 2024. We're just respecting the start of 2025. That's really all, right? Let me know your thoughts. Let me know your opinions, even if you disagree. Let's finish it off with BBAI and look, if I'm concerned with the two big ones in front of this, right? You got to believe I have to be concerned about this one. Because BBAI, I'm not going to cover the other ones, right? But Guard Force AI, Bullfrog AI, PDYN, something like that. Oh, my wife let my kitty in. Hi, I missed you. Sorry. Nice. She's playing with the scratch pad back there. Look, all of those lower ones were following the leaders, right? And all of a sudden, the leaders are getting a little bit shaky, and I think you gotta respect that. I think maybe even a little bit more than these chart setups right here, because you have to remember this as I zoom out. Before all of this hype, right? The November 4 takeoff was the exact same takeoff as SoundHound, right? I don't know if you fast forwarded to this. I'm making assumptions. November 4th, right here, SoundHound goes boom, right? BBAI actually does the exact same boom and give or take the exact same 4x move, right? So they both did that same boom. Before all that happened, volume was down here, small and insignificant. So if you're about to go from all the way up here at the 70 millions at your decent average to your more recent realistic 50 to all the way down, look at this day. This day was 4.0. We're about to go from 50 to 5 million shares in the hundred something point to 5 million shares in probably that's more concerning, I think, than almost any of the other. Volume is king, all right? Volume's queen for the ladies out there. And if you gain volume, good things happen. If the volume goes away, oh man, that's what can magnify the drops or add the fuel to the rockets up, right? So I think my biggest concern is volume. We're already seeing a decent decline. I wouldn't be surprised if all of a sudden we start coming back down to the 20 millions, and then after the 20s we'll probably come down to the 15s, and then after the 15s we'll probably come back to those 4 or 5 levels that I was talking about, right? So unless something good happens with either the NASDAQ, the Palantir, or SoundHound before this one, you now have to assume we're following the leaders down, right? So I'm definitely a lot more concerned with these than I was. That's, I think, the last little time I'll say that, right? I don't think I need to look at the weekly. I'll look at the weekly real quick. I think I'm glad I looked at the weekly because look, this has shown that it'll go up from the 8 and down to the 8. Hey, it's been a wick. That's cool. But this one went up from the 8 and down to the 8 without a wick, right? So I think I'm now seeing us up and away from the 8, probably coming down. I think it's realistic to think 330, right? That's not a horrible drop, I guess, looking at the percentage. But again, I think the following after. Where's this? Is this actually 330 right here? That's 360. So I would put 360 and 330 in my back pockets. I think that might matter than that more than that 314 I have drawn right there. All right. So look, let me know your thoughts. Let me know your opinions, even if you disagree. Oh, I appreciate you so, so much.